Welcome back. The post of mayor was this week formally handed over from Anthony Lima to Adolfo Canepa, who takes on the role in addition to his position as the Speaker of the House of Parliament. At an investiture ceremony, Mr. Canepa said he aims to carry out the role with the same enthusiasm, commitment and sense of duty as his predecessors.
The ceremony was held this morning at the City Hall and was attended by the Governor's wife, Lady Dutton, members of government and of Parliament, including the Chief Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, and a number of local dignitaries. An emotional Tony Lima said the past 20 months had been an experience he'd always treasure. He thanked his wife Carmen for her help and understanding, adding that together they'd organized around 320 events.
At my investiture, I pledged that I would open up my civic doors to everybody. And I've tried very hard to do that. But you have to understand that I'm sure that there are many deserving people, cases, groups who should have come along, who have not been able to. But you know, I only had 20 months and there is a limit on one can do with that time. But yes, I'm fortunate that I think I've raised the profile of the mayoralty. The mayor discharges a very important role in Gibraltar. As you know, the mayor, certainly in my role, I saw myself as somebody who is there to thank people who give of their time freely. And you know, we are blessed with so many of those, of the different groups, the different associations, who day in, day out are working so hard, looking after young people, looking after the aged in particular, putting the Gibraltar flag very proudly in competitions and away from here. And the role of the mayor is really that, you know, in projecting Gibraltar as best he can on every occasion that he's given the opportunity.
The Chief Minister said Mr. Lima had done an excellent job. Fabian Picardo said the new Deputy Mayor, Cayan Alvarino, could inspire and reach young people. And he described Adolfo Canepa as a giant of Gibraltar politics, who had also served as mayor before in the late 70s.
Obviously, whatever opportunity I am given to serve the Gibraltar that I love so dearly is a great honor for me. Obviously, I'm not as young as I was, but I do enjoy good health, and I do enjoy these occasions. One always gets more out of it than what you put in, and I'm very conscious of the fact that after almost a generation, the kind words that the Chief Minister had to say about me, you know, they strike a lovely chord in one's heart.
How do you feel the office of mayor has changed and developed over the years, and what do you feel is its enduring and essential purpose?
All the mayors under the new constitution have done a tremendous job in raising the profile of the mayor. They've done it in a very special way. Tony Lima has gone out of his way to involve the community, so it is developing in that way. And you know, after I finish my tenure of office, we're going to have Cayan, and the sky's the limit where she is concerned.
I'm extremely honoured to be given this opportunity. Obviously, as I've said lots of times, I'm a very proud Gibraltarian, and I have big footsteps to follow, so I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Mr. Canepa praised the charm and grace of Tony and Carmen Lima and singled out former Mayor Abraham Serfati as an inimitable person. It was an occasion for celebrating past mayors, with certificates prepared for all those who'd held the office under the 2006 Constitution. But one former mayor was not there to pick up his certificate today, Anthony Lombard, who was replaced as mayor-designate by a parliamentary motion last month. In his speech today, Fabian Picardo described Adolfo Canepa as a genuinely uncontroversial representative of our city. I asked Mr. Canepa if he had any comments on the circumstances surrounding his appointment.
I don't think it would be proper for me to comment. Obviously, I have had nothing at all to do with the decision. Tony has always been a very close friend of mine. He was so pleased when I became Speaker. He had always wanted me to see Speaker. I'm very sorry that things should have happened, which no doubt he has been hurt about it all. It's not my fault. I have had nothing to do with it. It's quite beyond me. I feel for him, but I was asked to take on this job, and I can never say no. I've never been able to say no to any chief minister that has asked me to do a job for Gibraltar.
Mr. Canepa said he hoped to bring dignity to the role of mayor, adding that with good health and the prayers of everyone, he would be able to rise to the challenge.
Tuesday marked the introduction of a clampdown on tobacco-related activities in North District residential estates. As the government signalled earlier this year, the sale of tobacco in designated zones is now prohibited. This follows years of complaints by residents that Laguna and Glasses estates in particular were becoming hotspots for antisocial behaviour. The Chief Minister, together with the Collector of Customs, took a walk through the estate, which is also undergoing a facelift as part of the GSLP Liberal manifesto commitment.
It is the 1st of April, but this is no April Fool joke. It is the first day in which Laguna Estate and Glasses Estate are free of the retailing of tobacco. The only way that you can buy tobacco in these estates now is on a vending machine. It was a commitment I gave because the antisocial behaviour was getting out of hand. I wanted to ensure that we dealt with it. The Collector of Customs had the power to deal with it. I had various discussions with him on what government policy is, and he therefore imposed a restriction, which I would have liked to have seen in place earlier on the 31st of December, but the Collector rightly, in my view, on consideration, decided to extend that period a little further to allow those who have licenses here to move out of the estate and continue their trade. But as from today, there is no retailing of tobacco here, and we hope therefore none of that antisocial behaviour which was blighting people's lives. This is a residential area. It is, in my view, as much as Glasses Estate, Laguna, a forgotten estate. The GSD did very little or nothing here in the time that they were in administration, and you can see behind us the effect of what we're doing for the estate. The whole of the estate is going to look as good as Rodney House looks now, and there's going to be no retailing of tobacco. On top of that, there's a small church that's been established here, so the atmosphere, the ambience, what's happening in Laguna Estate, what's happening in Glasses is changing dramatically under a GSLP Liberal administration.
What's going to happen to the companies, the businesses that had shops here? Are they going to be compensated in any way?
The government is not going to pay any compensation to the businesses that are still able to trade in the estate in all the lines that they had, even tobacco. It's just that there's a restriction in the way that they can trade in tobacco, which is it must be by vending machine. What we are allowing is that they move their tobacco license out of the estate to another shop, to an area which is not designated as a red zone, which is not a residential area, and where they would then be able to continue trading in tobacco as they have until now.
The opposition this week called on the government not to rush the decision over where to site the new National Football Stadium, but to concentrate on getting it right instead. It's noted that the Victoria Stadium is being upgraded to a Category 3 stadium and that UEFA rules allow such stadiums to be used when there isn't a Category 4 available. It therefore questions the need for a new stadium at all. In any event, the GST says it's not persuaded that there are no alternative sites to Europa Point, which it describes as an iconic location, important from a social, cultural, heritage and environmental point of view. Opposition leader Daniel Feetham spoke to Stephen Nish.
Well, having considered the matter very carefully, listened to what the GFA have said, listened to what the Chief Minister has said, particularly in Parliament, we're just simply not persuaded that this is the only viable site. I mean, in the first place, we question whether actually a Category 4 stadium is necessary at all, because we've looked at the UEFA qualifying regulations, which are pertinent in this particular case, and it says that qualifying games have got to be played in a Category 4 stadium, but if there is no Category 4 stadium, they can be played in a Category 3 stadium. And of course we know from today's advertorial in the Gibraltar Chronicle from the GFA, the Victoria Stadium is actually going to be developed into a Category 3 stadium. So, what is the point of having a Category 4 when Victoria Stadium is being developed into a Category 3 and qualifiers will be played there?
Isn't one of the problems of redeveloping the existing stadium instead of building a new one that while that's happening, while the works are underway, there'd be nowhere to play the current football fixtures?
I think it is possible to actually redevelop Victoria Stadium into a Category 3 with minimum amount of disruption. But in any event, look, why does it have to be today? Why does it have to be immediately? I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to recognise that Gibraltar is a very small place, that it has limited space available, and that therefore you're going to have these competing interests, and that all of us have got to make compromises in order to get what we ultimately want and get to where we want.
All GFA Premiership evening games have been postponed until further notice following a dramatic explosion at the Victoria Stadium last week. An evening match between Lincoln and College was called off with just 10 minutes to go, but no one was harmed and the emergency services brought the situation quickly under control.
A normal, albeit rainy Friday night at the Victoria Stadium. A few hundred fans had braved the conditions and were enjoying a top-of-the-table clash between Lincoln FC and College. Then disaster struck. Sparks began to fly from the southeast floodlight transformer and the pitch was cast into darkness. As smoke billowed out into the sky, the emergency services put the stadium evacuation plan into place and the fire was brought under control quickly.
Well, we had a short circuit, basically. We don't exactly know the reason why. That it's been investigated. We just suffered a complete shutdown of one of the floodlight feeder pillars and controls. Fortunately, there wasn't an accident requiring any medical emergency, so that was fortunate. And the damage has not been as extensive as it could have been, because it could have affected the cables going up to the floodlights or other cables.
For the next few hours, Premiership football was in limbo, whilst the GFA put contingency plans into place for the rest of the season. The floodlight structure now needs to be declared safe before a repair job can be carried out. Then the right parts need to be ordered.
All the old equipment has been removed and the new spares are being sourced.
So do you know more or less how long it will be before the stadium's up and running again?
That's a $50 million question. We are trying first to repair and replace the main cable. That's priority number one. At the same time, the cabinet is being fixed. We have a certain amount of spares in Gibraltar, but not for all the contactors. So there could be some pressurizing happening between the other floodlight towers and the one that's been damaged, so that we can get enough lighting on for the rest of the season. In the meantime, and that would be relatively easy to do, as soon as spares arrive, everything would be ready to just install the new spares.
There's a few Premiership games left to play, and most of them will go ahead without any problem. But evening matches have been postponed until some news comes in from the repair team.
Basically, we've been lucky that it's happened when we've had the change of time, because that means we've got an extra hour in the evenings of light. So with some adjustments, we are pretty confident that the season can be completed as originally planned.
Already a timetabling exercise has been carried out at GFA HQ, and the association is confident the remaining matches will be successfully rescheduled.
The jury in the trial of a local firefighter charged with stabbing a colleague failed to reach a majority decision on the charge of wounding this week. Under direction from the judge, 46-year-old Eligio Porter was found not guilty in relation to the more serious charge of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Mr. Porter had pleaded not guilty to both charges, but the jury of 9 were unable to reach a majority decision on the charge of wounding. Defence lawyer Christopher Miles submitted that the court had a hung jury. Mr. Justice Barrington Black proceeded to discharge the 9 jurors, commenting that there's no shame in not achieving a result, adding, "You go away with the thanks of the community." The Attorney General indicated he expects to know by this weekend whether or not he will push for a retrial. In the meantime, Mr. Porter's bail conditions remain in place. Also this week, Gibraltar's Attorney General, Ricky Roda QC, confirmed he is to retire in 2016. Organisers of the petition against the location of the stadium at Europa Point say the petition has been signed either online or on paper by more than 5,000 people. And the Spring Festival was launched this week, with a number of events to be held over May and June. For the rest of this week's news, you can head over to our website, gbc.gi/news. Tune into Radio Gibraltar and GBC Television throughout the week for the very latest local news. And you can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. From the team, good night.